All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. Did you know the ESCO HVAC Podcast? I am hanging out with my dear friend JoJo, the HVAC man. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. Having a great time.
It has been a great time, hasn't
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Great turnout, great training. Got all the information you could ever want right here.
Yeah. And when you look around, like the energy is high, like everyone's wanting to learn, everyone is wanting to get, better, improve their programs. And it just feels like there's this really, really, really cool movement. Right?
Oh, these guys are, they're dedicated, to show up here and come and learn, to be better instructors, to get that next generation properly prepared for all the latest and greatest that's out there. Is amazing.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. All right. What are we diving into today?
Yeah. Well, I thought it would be really cool. It's to let out some little secrets that, it could take an hour and a half to show you, but we'll just cut it to the chase. But
there we go.
There's a lot of misconception about what the pressures ought to be. We talk about that all the time.
My pressures are good, Joey.
Exactly. And so, we need to get it out there that we're not looking for pressures.
No.
Our whole job in air conditioning and refrigeration is to actually control the saturation temperatures. That's it.
Yeah.
Once we know what those should be,
right,
then we can determine if it's too high, if it's too low, there's a great chart out there that's got the arrows that go up and down, right? The one thing that always bothered me about that chart, there's nothing to compare them to.
Right. Yeah.
It just said high, low, and norm.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's norm?
Yeah. In what region? In what equipment?
Exactly.
What refrigerator? What matchup? I mean, there's so many factors.
So many factors. So I finally found out a shortcut. Okay. And I'm not a big fan of shortcuts unless they're work. And these work.
Okay.
And this is industry. So, you want to know, well, what should my head pressure be?
Yeah.
Right? Well, really, the question is, what should my saturation temperature be in my condenser?
Ooh.
After that, doesn't matter what flavor of ice cream is inside that unit.
Yeah.
We'll know what the pressure ought to be. So there's right now back 10, when it was 10 SEER, 12 SEER days, the manufacturer designed the saturation condenser to be 30 degrees above ambient.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 90 degrees outside, we want the saturation to run around 120.
There you go.
95, 125. And this is where everybody got their fixed numbers from.
Yeah. This is the number.
That's right.
And that's the magic number.
Yes, us old guys would, R22 was our bread and butter. And we always said 225 on the high side and 70 on the low side. Well, that came from the industry standards of design at the right conditions.
At perfect conditions.
We didn't know where they came from.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let me make this caveat. These work when we have the right airflow. So we're talking about clean coils, clean evaporator, measured airflow.
Yep.
Now we can get back to what the saturation ought to be. So once we know all that's right, then we look at, and the condenser back then was 30 above ambient. Well, we've gotten bigger condensers, more efficient.
Higher efficiency.
And they've dropped that because the ratio between the evaporator saturation and the condenser saturation is a load on the compressor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we can lower that head pressure required saturation, then we're doing less work on the compressor.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So now between 14 and 16 SEER 2, so I guess that'd be 14.3, 15.4, whatever. All right. But it is 20 degrees above ambient.
Versus that 30.
Versus the 30.
Okay.
Now, I've got a 20 SEER system, and it runs 10 degrees above ambient.
Yeah.
So here's the deal, is that right now, the average unit's 14, 15 SEER.
Yep.
You go out there, and you can measure the entering condenser air, add 20 to it, and that'll tell you where your saturation temperature ought to be.
Yeah.
And then they can convert that to R54B, R32.
Whatever that PT chart says.
Whatever it's in there.
Yeah.
But they're really looking for that saturation. Now we know what the head pressure ought to be.
Yeah.
And if it's not, now you'll know, okay, well, it's higher than that. Okay, now maybe we still got a dirty condenser.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a little lower, that's not a problem as long as we got a good saturation evaporator temperature, right?
We know we're moving enough air inside.
That's right. And we know the charge not too low yet, right?
Yep.
So now the evaporator saturation is, and this hasn't changed much, but on average, you're still looking at 35 degrees below return air temperature.
Okay.
Without it freezing up. So 75 return air would be about a 40 degree coil, right?
Sounds good.
Now, some manufacturers run a little bit higher for the efficiency because it puts less work on the compressor.
You bet.
Not many run any lower.
Right.
But if you kind of floated around that 40 to 43 degree saturation, you'll be good. Remember, none of these are standalone numbers. It's a system. So we want to make sure the whole system's working right. If you got these two together, we're in pretty good shape. All right. Here's another little, and I didn't obviously come up with this or this other stuff. I'm just telling you what I've learned.
Right.
Is if you know what the condensing saturation temperature should be.
Yep.
So let's say it's 85 outside. We add our 20.
Yep.
So now we're looking at 105.
Sounds good.
Well, then we know that if we should have a 10-degree subcooling, our liquid line should be 95.
Exactly.
So now, without even putting any gauges on it, just measure the liquid line temps and just see what you got. And if it's running around 95,
right,
and it's 100, I mean, it's 95 outside. In this case, you have a 95-degree suction line, liquid line, then you should be fine.
Right.
You know, at least it gives you a good idea
without disturbing the refrigeration cycle.
The last thing we want to do is put gauges on that darn thing, right?
Yes.
The other one, to make sure you got good airflow, is you want to measure the dry bulb and wet bulb drop across the coil.
Yeah.
So no matter what tonnage this unit is, I don't care if it's 1.5 or 50. If you got a 16 to 18 dry bulb with a 10-degree wet bulb drop, that ratio, your airflow's good.
Stay standard.
Your capacity's good. Your charge is good. Now, that doesn't mean your air distribution is good.
Right, exactly. But performance-wise.
But across the coil, you're good. If you get those numbers, and it'll come out on the psychometric chart every time, you don't have to put any gauges on the unit.
Yeah.
As far as the evap coil it's doing its job.
Right.
Go to the condenser. Well, the condenser is nothing but sensible.
Yeah.
So now you can measure the air coming in the condenser, the air going out, and use the heat strip method.
Yep.
Because the heat strip method is really just sensible. So every condenser has a fixed fan speed on it, usually. Now, if this is a staging product, make sure it's wide open when you do all these measurements.
Like an inverter. Put it in test mode.
Put it in test mode, jack them up.
Ramp up to 100%, just like it's a single stage.
That's right. And remember, you got to wait for it to get there.
Get it up there.
Caveat that too. But once you got it up and running and it's running full bore, if you measure the air temperature coming in, air temperature coming out, and you can look on the product data of the condenser, it'll tell you what the CFM of that fan is. Boom, now you got a temperature rise method, and you can measure the heat rejection of the condenser.
Yeah.
And if it's a 2-ton condenser and you're getting out about 23,500, 24,000, guess what?
Yep.
That tells you, never put gauges on it. Yeah. If you measure and I can't stress enough, it's dry and wet bulb drop.
Absolutely.
And they have to be in that ratio.
Yeah.
16 to 18 dry bulb with a 10 wet bulb. But that way, let's say you got a 14 wet bulb and only a 12 dry bulb. Well, that means you're working off humidity.
Right.
Once you get the wet bulb
out of whack.
That's right. And then once you get that wet bulb down, the dry bulb will come in play.
There you go.
So these are little secrets that only took me 35 years to figure out. And now the cat's out of the bag.
8 minutes.
I won't have a job anymore. So,
I know, everyone's going to go, wait a minute, what's going on? Well, I actually encountered that here very recently, right? So as we started working with these new refrigerants, one of the first things I did was put together a TP chart, right? I think there's one out here, right? And so I got a lot of slack when I put that together because when you look at the TP chart I put together, it is a TP. It is temperature first, pressure second.
Right.
And I've had so many people go, why don't you make that a PT chart? That's what I read from my gauges. And I go, well, right there's the reason.
That's right.
The gauges are an afterthought.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
the first
exactly
thing
right.
is our temperature.
Yep.
And we've never done that. I'm like, well, actually, if you want to go back in history, that's actually how we learned it. That's how we taught it. And then over time, we kind of shifted over to a PT chart because everyone was putting their gauges on things very first to see what was actually going on. Now we're getting back to those basics.
That's right.
Where you do temperature. You understand how that thing is supposed to run, and you take temperatures, and it'll tell you if it's doing it.
That's exactly right. They, for the longest time, it was just, they would tell you with R22, if you get a 70 suction, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that when we're controlling saturation, now we're looking at trying to control heat transfer rate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the full airflow goes.
Yep.
But all we're trying to do is establish the correct heat rejection and the correct heat absorption.
Yep.
And design conditions are 95 outside. And believe it or not, for capacity, it's 80 inside. That's 67 wet bulb. All right, which is 50% relative humidity.
Yeah.
Now our comfort design is 75 inside.
That's right.
But all your charts for capacity are rated at 80 degrees inside, right? And then when you do a manual J, that's when you adjust it for your region.
Yeah.
Exactly. But under those design conditions, and you get those right numbers, your problem is not the equipment, it's something else.
Absolutely. Because when you think about it, right, these systems were designed around temperature differentials, right?
Yep.
Pressure is the byproduct of the chemical that's inside of it doing the work, right?
Exactly right. And you know that the guys look for that magic 18 to 20 degree drop, right? But they're not looking at wet bulb. Well, you're not going to get that drop if you got a high latent, high humid house.
Yeah.
You got to let it get that latent down. Now, we instinctively know that because we'll tell a homeowner, now give it some time.
Yeah, let it run for a while.
Let it run for a while. And me being from the South, we'll take them out to the drain line. You see that river coming out of your drain line? When that slows down, your temperature come down the house, right? But really what we're saying is we got to get rid of the latent load before we can do the sensible.
Yeah.
And now that we know that ratio, well, if it is a high, right, and you measure a 12 degree dry bulb drop, like, but if you're getting that 16 wet bulb, that means most of your capacity is shifted to latent removal. And then once you get that wet bulb down, then the dry bulb should come back up, and you'll get in that right ratio. Now, if they're both way out of whack, now you got a charge issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Or an airflow issue. But again, we're making sure we got clean coils, clean filters, and we got good measured airflow.
Yeah. I mean, think about that. Like, we're talking about maintenance, right? We're there to maintain the things. Anytime we open that system up, we're actually putting refrigerant out of the system every single time.
It really, I mean, and I know guys like to do these long reports now, which is fine. But really, if you're getting that correct dry bulb and wet bulb drop, especially if you got it through the vents.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now you've diagnosed the ductwork too.
Right. Now you got a total airflow.
That's right.
Distribution.
And I can use this information to do other diagnoses without a whole lot of high-end bat gear,
Exactly.
But I can't give away all my secrets.
Yeah, no.
And they got to come to my YouTube channel to see me.
Yeah, they're going to figure out the rest of that. They're going to pay a little bit of money to be able to see the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I can't put my whole career on the line here, but but those are great quick checks without really having to get too deep into it.
Yep.
But if you understand the dynamics of why they are the way they are, when they're not the way they are, now you can start doing some troubleshooting.
You got the big tools, right? Now let's measure everything and see how the system is performing.
That's right.
Because maybe we got a refrigerant issue. It could be mixed refrigerants. It could, there's a variety of things that can come into play that we'll be looking for as part of our diagnostics. But that initial service, right? We're just there to make sure that thing is performing well. Like with all of my PMs that I did for rooftops, those were all non-invasives until I found one that was out of spec. And if I seen something that was out of spec, then it was worth getting the rest of the tools out, diving into the thing. But, if I got 20 rooftops, do I really want to spend 2 hours times 20? Or do I want to spend a half an hour on each one? And then if I find one, have enough time to be able to focus on that one.
Exactly. And now you know what to look for.
Yeah.
Because, you're doing the PMs, in the spring, it's 75 degrees. Well, now what should if you're thinking, what should my pressure be for my new R44B? No, I don't know. No, just take 70, add 20.
Right.
And you're looking for a 90-degree saturation. It doesn't matter what flavor of ice cream's in the unit, right?
Exactly.
Remember we did our other podcast? It could be milk,
could be milk. What? That's right. Doesn't matter. It's just a refrigerant because we're going to have so many new refrigerants in our lifetime.
And I mean, and these two, R54B and R32, are already on the chopping block.
That's it.
They're just temporary.
Got a decade of them, so there's going to be something coming after. Unless you're retiring in this next decade, you're going to be working with other refrigerants at some point.
And it doesn't need to scare you.
No.
Saturation didn't change.
Yeah, because what if we go like R290, right? So if that ends up happening, do I want to put my gauges on there? No. Not unless I have to. So let's make sure that we can figure out how this thing is actually running without doing invasive work.
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Great
there
stuff.
we go. HVAC made simple, huh?
Yeah, I love it. So tell me, seeing you everywhere right now, right? So what's going on? Tell me about all the social media that you're doing.
I tell you what. So I've just now cranked up social media account on Instagram. We already had one on YouTube.
Yep.
Got one now TikTok, and we've got what's the other one? This is why I got somebody a lot younger than me doing this.
I know.
Twitter or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, they got them all up there now, and they're doing a great job. I've been doing a lot of traveling, a lot of training.
Sure.
And I've also started doing HVAC training to support personnel, which
there you go.
salespeople, as well as the admin that answers the phone, the dispatchers, and it's HVAC training, but it's to their understanding. It's not high technical, but now they can understand what they're talking about a little bit.
Right.
And I do that now for sales companies all across the country.
Nice.
And then, of course, technical training, webinars. So, yeah, if you need anything, I'll be glad to set it up.
Yeah, how do we get a hold of you?
Just go to JoJo the HVAC Man, and you can Google it, and it'll pop right up. But my YouTube channel is JoJo the HVAC Man. My website's JoJo the HVAC Man.
Yep.
So JoJo the HVAC Man is all you need.
I'm seeing a shirt called My Man, JoJo the HVAC Man.
I love it. You always got great ideas.
Buddy, I'm so glad to hang out with you. I enjoy every conversation we have.
It is.
And I encourage everyone to go take a look, see what Joey's up to, and I guarantee you're going to spend some time going, all right, this guy's legit.
That's great. Thank you very much, Clifton. Honored to be here.